All right, thanks for tuning in. We got the Dodgers and Red Sox right here next Sunday on NBC. Let's throw it over to the Channel 4 News.
NBC4 News starts with breaking news.
We begin in Seattle with breaking news. Multiple people shot during a food festival near the city's famous Space Needle. There may be as many as 6 victims, though their injuries are not yet clear. A source told NBC News that the suspected gunman is no longer a threat. It is not clear if that person was killed. Of course, we'll continue to follow this breaking news as more information becomes available.
Can't even come outside. Can't be out here.
And now to the crisis in Boyle Heights. Lineage says it entered a new phase of the cleanup process, but people living by the warehouse say they are still suffering. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kathy Vara.
And I'm Camille Rambaldi in for Jonathan tonight. This weekend, Lineage reached the milestone of removing nearly half of the rotting food from the site. News Chopper 4 flew overhead today. While more of that debris is getting cleared, the company says the next step in the cleanup process could actually make the odor worse for days to come.
NBC4's Keenan Willard joins us now from Boyle Heights. Keenan, and this is weighing heavily on that community. They have suffered.
Kathy, Camilla, definitely weighing heavily on people here. You can see the work very much ongoing despite it being into the evening hours here. They're working around the clock, and you know we've been out here on the site outside this warehouse essentially since this fire broke out on June 17th. And I can say, standing here about a block away from the facility, that when it comes to the stench from the millions and millions of pounds of rotting food held inside this cold storage warehouse, it does not seem to be as intense or far-reaching out into the community as it had been maybe even a week ago here. However, for those people who live and work really right next to this warehouse, they say the smell is still a constant struggle.
Can't even come outside. Can't be out here. It's like we have to be with AC inside. We have to have air purifiers on. There's really not much we can do out here.
Since a major fire broke out at the Lineage cold storage building on June 17th, the community here says they first had to deal with days of thick black smoke filling their neighborhood. Then after the fire was out, the main issue became more than 80 million pounds of rotting food that was being stored in this warehouse. This weekend, Lineage says they've now removed close to half of that food, and they're now preparing for a big step in the cleanup process, removing the wall that separates the burned from the unburned part of the building and replacing that wall with plastic sheeting. Now, Lineage says that process will take up to 3 days, and during that time, the smell of rotting food could be worse until the plastic cover is installed. The company says in the meantime, they're running more high-powered air filters outside the building to help with the smell. But some people who live and work here in Boyle Heights say it's already still unbearable for them.
Yeah, it's been awful because of the heat, especially like people can't even open their windows. Like we can't even be outside.
Now, in a new statement tonight, Lineage says the company is moving as fast and as safely as they can, and they will not stop until this community is able to move forward. Now, LA Mayor Karen Bass has said August 13th as that deadline for the company to finish their cleanup process here. You can see work continuing around the clock into the evening hours tonight. We're going to be following every step, especially to watch for any concerns from the neighbors as that process continues and potentially the smell worsens during this next phase of the cleanup process. So more to come here from Boyle Heights. For the moment, though, Keenan Willard, NBC4 News.
Keenan, thank you. And our coverage of this Boyle Heights warehouse cleanup continues tonight at 11. We're going to break down the timeline laid out for Lineage to clear the property, plus a look at the string of environmental disasters all across our region. We are breaking it down for more context tonight on the NBC4 News at 11.
Also in our Boyle Heights coverage, a new exclusive report from NBC4 investigates a pest inspection done on the Lineage property reveals deep health concerns for the community, how the mix of waste and heat could be increasing breeding for flies and the risk for a specific disease. Watch the full story on our website, NBCLA.com, and on the NBC LA app.
We have new details on the homicide investigation in Santa Monica that we first brought you as breaking news last night. A woman was killed at the Manor right across from Santa Monica City College. It is a residential board and care facility for people with mental illness and developmental disabilities. Police say the woman was attacked in her room around 5:30 yesterday evening. They say they have made an arrest, a man in his 20s. They believe the two knew each other and he was staying with her for a few days. No word yet on specific charges.
New tonight, as several people seriously hurt after a collision involving a Waymo taxi. This all happened around 6 this morning in Mid-City near Venice and La Brea. Multiple people were taken to the hospital. It is still not clear how many people were involved or what caused the crash.
Turning now to the extreme heat, we're going to give you a live picture. This is from our Mount Wilson camera. Those high temperatures continue now as we get ready to start a brand new work week.
And meteorologist Stephanie Omo has your first alert forecast and also that humidity.
Yeah, exactly. So we have the air temperatures up there and also you have that humidity making it feel a bit hotter out there. I want to go over today's high temperatures because you know what? It's another day we're talking about heat. Moreno Valley, you soared to 104. It climbed to 102 in Lancaster. Van Nuys, you made it to 97, 90 degrees in downtown LA. Santa Monica, you made it to 80 degrees, so it got pretty warm out your way as well. Right now, we're checking out this live picture of downtown Los Angeles. Again, temperatures currently at 77, and the sun is setting as we speak. Temperatures currently in some other spots, it's right now 8:11. Temperatures are pretty warm there in San Bernardino, 90 degrees. 86 in Hemet, 87 in Riverside, 88 degrees in Van Nuys, as well as up into Santa Clarita. Currently in West Covina, temperatures at 84 degrees. And as we continue here tonight through the overnight hours, notice not a whole lot of relief as temperatures will be dropping back down into the 70s. So the trend will continue as we start up this new work week. It starts to heat back up as we head into the latter part of the work week. We'll have more on this heat coming up here in your extended forecast. For now, over to you guys.
All right, Stephanie, thank you. Well, the heat drew thousands to the beach in Orange County for the U.S. Open of Surfing. It is recognized as the largest surfing event in the world.
The crowds enjoyed the fierce competition, the coastal temperatures, and even getting in the water themselves. Here's NBC4's Annette Areola.
Southern California residents flocking to the coastline in search of cooler temperatures.
It's been pretty rough. You know, I live locally and usually there's no air conditioning in our houses. So it's nice to come out, have a nice breeze, kind of escape, and then, you know, go hide back in our hole in the evening.
The summer heat wave rolling in just in time for the U.S. Open of Surfing. A 9-day event with nearly 200 competitors from around the world showing off their gnarly skills.
Waves are pumping, everybody should be excited. This is the elimination round, so people will be getting sent home later on today.
Experienced swimmers breaking waves with crowds of spectators watching their every move, and many of them also tempted to take a dip, hoping to cool off.
We saw elevated weather conditions, elevated water temperatures, a lot of water activity and rescue activity. Around 30,000 people visited the event yesterday, and that's just around the event venue. Lots of rip currents, lots of people getting helped out of the water.
Officials say lifeguards performed close to 150 rescues on Saturday alone.
We don't go in too far, just to be safe.
Hoa Tran and her husband brought their 2 boys to the surfing competition. They have no plans to frolic in the water, but if they do...
We usually hang out and just go to our knees, pretty much, yeah. We don't go in too deep, but we're usually watching them if they're in there.
Huntington Beach Fire tells us it's essential for people to know their limitations and to check out water conditions before going in.
Swim in front of a lifeguard, not swim alone. And then we always tell people to stay waist deep. And that way, if you're waist deep and the rip current forms around you, you can kind of prevent yourself from getting pulled out in the rip current.
And if you're stuck in a current, remember to swim parallel to the shoreline. With 7 more days of competition to go and more summer heat waves on the horizon, emergency officials have one last message for you.
Have a good weekend, and we'll see you at the beach.
In Huntington Beach, Annette Areola, NBC4 News.
And with the heat comes fire danger, risk of illnesses, and a high UV index. Counties across the region have opened cooling centers to offer free relief from the sun and the heat. We have links to all the centers open across Southern California. Just head to our website, NBCLA.com, or in the NBCLA app.
And it's not just Southern California.